Hi, I'm Shane.
And I'm Miranda, or Chicky. Join us as we undertake our biggest road trip to date, 5 months around Australia in a 4-wheel drive.
After a year of closed borders due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we were finally able to travel from New Zealand to our closest neighbour, my home country of Australia.
Each episode will take you to a different region in this diverse continent and get up close to its unique wildlife, camping in the outback and Aussie bush.
If you've ever wanted to explore Australia, then this series is for you. Join us on Global Travel Stories.
In this episode,
we arrive at the town of Broome on the west coast of Australia and check out its amazing beaches. Followed by the unmissable camel ride on Cable Beach at sunset.
we head south to Karijini National Park in the Pilbara region. After an encounter with one of the world's deadliest snakes, we explore the narrow canyons and hidden waterholes in this remote and unique part of the country.
We finish up with an epic hike to appreciate this spectacular place from above. Follow our journey on Global Travel Stories. This part of the journey picks up after departing Weano Gorge in the Kimberley region. So now we are driving on the infamous Give River Road. We were originally going to do the whole road, that was our plan, but unfortunately due to our back windscreen being smashed, we had to spend a few extra days in Darwin. Now we have to spend some extra time in Broome as well to get that fixed. So we had to change our plans unfortunately, but today we are heading towards Broome. May or may not be staying in Broome, we'll see. Stopping at the Boab prison tree along the way. I think that's what it's called in Derby. So yeah, should be fun.
We're at the Boab prison tree. We're about to check it out, and the prison was used by early pearl traders that were farming in the area. They were basically kidnapping Aboriginal people and using them for slavery. They were known as blackbirders, and some of them would keep them in prison inside the tree, of all places. Pretty terrible stuff, actually, while they were sort of going and getting their boats ready and things like that. So, it's kind of dark and crazy history. So just to touch up on the boabs of the Kimberley, we see plenty of them around driving through these roads, and the boabs are actually the only species of its genus in Australia. There's one species in Africa and over 6, I believe, in Madagascar, and they've been here for 190 million years, they estimate, and they think that they probably washed ashore from Madagascar a long time ago, and that's how they came here. The term boab is most likely an Australian shortening for the term baobab. Baobab. Where are we going?
Matso's festival.
So we're going to Matso's Brewery that's having a street festival right now. Turned up to Broome and saw a sign there that said Street Beer Festival, and we thought, yes, definitely. Messaged one of my mates who was already going and had some tickets, and we said, let's do it. So gonna go get some beers and something to eat.
So nice to be in your company today.
After some great food and a few too many drinks, the night got hazier than the craft beers I was downing. The following morning we had to be up early, which was definitely a challenge. We're here at Gantheaume Point in Broome, which is also known as the Dinosaur Coast, because this coastline here has, I think it's a record amount of dinosaur footprints, fossilised dinosaur footprints, going back to the Jurassic period. So they're like 100 and something million years old. Anyway, we're gonna go check those out.
So this is here it is. That's a footprint of a theropod.
Oh really?
Yeah, and they were carnivorous.
The fossilized footprints can only be accessed a few days out of every month during an extreme low tide. We were lucky to just make it in time before the tide came in on the last day of the accessible tide. The iconic red cliffs were also worth exploring, and on an old tower above were a nesting pair of osprey and their chicks.
West coast. So we've traveled right across the country, east coast, and now we're here, about to touch foot in the Indian Ocean. Look at that, that is awesome. And everyone is there. What do you think of this beach, Miranda? Yeah, after being in the desert for so long, it's kind of nice to see the ocean. Oh, that water is amazing.
Sand is so soft.
Next stop, Africa. All right, Chicky, watch out for salties. Indian Ocean. After a tumble in the surf, we headed back to our campground for the evening, where we spotted a brown goshawk after a successful hunt.
And it's a bird of prey. I see it. I think it's starting next.
Are they gonna eat something? Cable Beach for sunset, and this is supposed to be not only one of the best sunsets in Australia, but I have read travel articles where they actually claim that this is one of the best places to watch the sunset in the world. We're on the west coast right now, so the sun is setting right down over the Indian Ocean. The atmosphere here is just amazing. Tomorrow we'll be back here and we'll be doing a camel ride for the sunset, which is another thing that you've got to do while you're here at Cable Beach in Broome.
The following morning, our campsite neighbor offered to help us with a problem we had.
This is Terry, and Terry's going to help us with the crack on the windscreen. This little contraption right here.
Screw that down.
Moment heading down to Gantheaume Point, and this is where we went the other day to check out the dinosaur footprints. Tide's a little bit higher now, so we might be able to see a couple of rock pools to go for a little bit of a bathe in. I may have underestimated the walk from Cable Beach to Gantheaume Point. After 45 minutes with the temperature rising into the 30s, we were relieved to cool off in the ocean, and I wasn't strangled by Miranda. The water actually kind of feels warm.
After the walkover, we decided not to walk back to Cable Beach and came up with a new plan.
Yeah, so I just called up my mate Jared, and we're going to go have lunch in Chinatown at a place called Mangoes. Apparently it's a really cool place to hang out, so we'll go up there and grab a bite and a drink. Whilst enjoying lunch at the beautiful resort, I made a phone call, the outcome of which wasn't the best news. We said our goodbye to Jared and headed back to camp to sort out the latest setback. So a little bit of an update. Our glass never arrived up here in Broome, and apparently it's not going to arrive for a little bit. So we're actually going to drive another 2 weeks without the rear canopy windscreen, which is really, really annoying. And we'll be picking that up in Perth if all goes to plan. So far it hasn't. So I've done a little bit of reinforcement in the back here,
Yeah, look at that. All right, exciting stuff. We are heading right now down to the beach for the sunset camel ride, the famous sunset camel ride on Cable Beach. And yeah, just cruising past, loving the Chinese style architecture you see here everywhere. I should probably mention that Broome has a past with the Chinese pearl traders. So there is the old Chinatown in town and all that sort of stuff, which is kind of cool for a small regional city and, you know, the far reaches of Western Australia. Something different. You're on our camel trip. What's our camel's name?
Mufasa.
Everything the light touches. Mufasa is quite a young camel. All the camels here are wild camels that have been captured. Camels, of course, are not native to Australia. They're brought down or brought over here by the Afghan camel herders that were exploring the centre and have kind of gone rogue and wild. So basically, the way to save them is to incorporate them into these types of tours and tourism, which is quite cool. Wild camels take between a month and a year to break in generally. Mufasa here is quite an easy learner. His brother Teddy up the back there is still learning, and he's actually on his own at the moment. He's just learning the ropes, and that's sort of how they subdue, which is pretty cool. Brenda seems to think they're happy.
I hope so.
The story of the Cable Beach Sunset Camel Rides is a bizarre one with many twists.
After converting to Islam in the 1970s, Abdul Latif Kasli had a dream of a pilgrimage to Mecca in Saudi Arabia by camel. He was to deliver a stone of light, a religious relic that he had in his possession. He and his wife had walked camels from Adelaide to Alice Springs to sell some of them for $500 each to fund the trip, an idea he got from a TV show that turned out to be false. The plan to reach Mecca fell through, and they set out to Catherine to work on a film set that also soon after fell through.
In 1981, after reading Robin Davis's book Tracks, he was inspired to journey 1,500 kilometers across the Kimberley to Broome, where he began taking tourists on camel journeys at sunset. Eventually, camel riding on Cable Beach became a staple for visitors, with many companies offering the activity. In 2007, Mr. Kasli felt it was his time to finally leave Broome.
Leave Broome, say goodbye to the Kimberley. We're heading down today just outside of Port Headland. It has been a bit of a late start today. We've got 5.5 hours to drive down there, and the reason why we've got a late start is because we were waiting to pick up this. This is our back windscreen, and there have been several major delays and mishaps along the way, including the fact that we had to wait several days in Darwin for it to not arrive. It was then supposed to be posted to Broome, and I was informed yesterday, after making an appointment with a mechanic, that the glass had been shipped to Perth. So we were just about to leave Broome, and I received a message saying that the glass is now here in Broome, so they made a mistake with that. Unfortunately, we couldn't get back our appointment with the mechanic to install the glass, but we have contacted someone in Port Headland tomorrow, and hopefully they should be able to install it tomorrow. And then we can get moving. Move past this place. So we'll be heading down to the Pilbara region next. We'll be heading down to Karijini National Park over the next few days, which is somewhere I've always wanted to go. Yeah, so looks like it'll be a good few days ahead. Actual tornadoes. I don't want to go into it.
Our little free camp area just outside of Port Headland. The tricky hard at work. Work hard, play hard. So
you'd think that it rained here last night, considering all the water, but it didn't. That's just condensation. The whole tent is absolutely soaked. Oh, shit. There you go. Looks like new. Not a scratch on it.
To Karijini National Park now, and we have just got our back windscreen fixed.
Yeah, finally. So we're heading from Port Headland now down to the national park, which is the route that all these big giant trucks you see going past us use. The road trains, as they call them. Randy, you can show them this one up here. Typically, you've got 4 or 5 carriages right there. This one's 60 meters long, and we'll be passing those the whole way.
There's another.
There's another one. Yeah, so it's going to be a very interesting day, and hopefully we'll be able to get down quickly because they can only travel at a max of 90 kilometers per hour. So I don't have a two-way. We'll figure it out.
We headed inland to the eastern side of Karijini National Park to start our adventure.
Alrighty, so we're here at Dale's Gorge in Karijini National Park, and we're about to do a 4.3 kilometer hiking trail with a couple of little waterfalls and swimming holes along the way. Head out to Fortescue Falls, and where else are we going? Fern pool, something like that.
Yeah, fern pool.
Yeah, we're gonna do a few pools. So this is the circular pool down the back here, and it's actually closed due to dangers from rockfall. So we're going to make our way around now from the 3-way lookout and head to Fortescue and Fernpool. Sort of spotted upon this pheasant cougal in the bushes there, and I think he caught a glimpse of us and tried to sneak his way out, and as he was sneaking out he was caught by these 2 little willy wagtails, and they just kept dive bombing him over and over again.
After walking in the heat, it was time to cool off by the end of the gorge at Fortescue Falls.
So we're here at Fortescue Falls. Oh, it's a slippy one. It's a lot cooler than the water in the Kimberley. I feel like you just gotta launch yourself. It's the only way. Yeah, good. Alright, here we go. It is so refreshing. This is like the perfect temperature right now after being walking for an hour and a half or so. Yeah, a few fruit bats up there.
Fruit bats or flying foxes are nocturnal and sleep during the day. They prefer the cooler climate of the gorges to the hotter exposed areas above.
phone call, and I'm down and out. Broken my toenail, bent it right back on one of the rocks here, and it's bleeding. So I'm gonna watch.
We departed via unsealed road to the Karijini Eco Retreat, where we would spend our next couple of nights.
So, we've got some brie cheese here. I'll put this in some foil, and then I'm going to put it in our little camp oven, stove oven there. Got some honey on top, a little bit of Cajun seasoning, and some salt with a little bit of garlic as well. Let's see how it turns out. Oh yeah, that's a lot. That's some goopy goops. Some baked brie.
The following morning, we headed out to explore the central area of the national park.
So, we've got a busy day today. We're up here at the top of Weano and Handcock Gorge, and there's a number of little trails that we're going to undertake today, leading up in total to about 5 kilometers, looking at about 3 hours in total, with a bunch of little swim stops along the way. You can probably see how I'm dressed right now. It is ridiculously windy, and the wind is actually kind of cold, which is a complete opposite to yesterday, which was sweltering hot, and it's, you know, still. Wind really picked up last night, and it's not always sunshine and rainbows on these trips, you know. Sometimes things happen, like chaotic wind in your tent all night keeping you up. That's kind of what we're working through this morning and trying to get over. But yeah, it should be some good hikes, and hopefully it'll put us in better spirits, and get warmer by the middle of the day anyway. It always does.
A bit of advice when in the Aussie outback or bush: pay attention to the path ahead.
So we're actually inside of Weano Gorge right now, and it's pretty cool, you know. Holy fuck, that is a big brown. That was really close. It looked like a king brown or a mulgus snake from what we could see, and they are highly venomous. Not quite as aggressive as your eastern browns that you get on the east coast, but still very toxic. He didn't seem too aggressive. He actually seemed more afraid of us, which is usually the case with snakes. He just took straight off into a little hole in the wall. But yeah, it could have been close. You never know. If you're walking too fast in these areas and you're not looking, you could step on one, and they will certainly turn around and attack if they're being stepped on or threatened. So good thing that it was, you know, Miranda spotted it.
Although brown in colour, the mulgus snake is actually a member of the black snake family. Black snakes may not have the reputation or toxicity of browns in Australia, but the mulgus snake is recorded as having the largest venom output of any snake in the world, delivering around 150 milligrams per bite compared to 40 milligrams from a tiger snake.
So we're heading right now down into the handrail pool.
We descended into our first narrow gorge, passageways of smooth rock worn by the torrential rivers of the wet season.
Although tempted to swim, we had plenty of other sites to visit. The pool is named after the handrail used to enter and exit the area.
Climbing out of the gorge, we made our way up to Oxer's Lookout.
The handrail pool's somewhere down there. So this area was actually formed over 2,500 million years ago when it was part of a seabed. The ancient seabed had compressed all the elements like silica and sand into the ground, forming this rock. And over time we had uplift caused by continental collision, which pushed these sort of bedrocks up from under the ground, also forming a lot of the cracks that started to erode away over time, forming these canyons. And a lot of the erosion comes from the water that was squeezed out of these rocks, making them very hard and solidified. The red that you see on all the rocks and the dirt is actually formed from iron oxide. This area is very rich in iron, so after time the iron oxidizes and it's essentially like rust. That's what you see everywhere around this landscape. Pretty amazing.
So this is a Sturt Desert Rose. A lot of them aren't in full bloom yet, which I've just noticed. I didn't even know that these trees that we were walking past had the Sturt Desert Roses because they mostly look like this. But we actually saw quite a lot of them in the West McDonnell Ranges and they were in full bloom and in the road center as well. So now you know.
So this is our trail down here in Handcock Gorge, heading to the Kermit Pool. Interesting. Rocks are nice and smooth. Definitely a bit slippy. What do you think of this for a hiking trail, Miranda? Definitely cool. Yeah, not gonna swim through there. Go for it.
Clinging to the wall of the gorge, the fear of slipping into the pool below made this walk more exciting.
It's like a puzzle. Maze or something. To sort of figure your way through it. Have fun though. Three points of contact. So be a wall, foot, GoPro. Now I see the value and why the people we passed earlier on today were saying there's no one down at Kermit's Pool, get down there early. We're like, we don't feel like swimming now, but this place is packed for such a small area, very tight. Alright, only one way to enter Kermit's Pool. Woo! It's strange to think in just a couple of months when the wet season really starts to kick in. These black lines up here are the water lines. That's just crazy. And the stones are so smooth just because of all the water erosion. Beautiful. What do you think, Miranda? Pretty cool? lookout right now, and then we'll descend down into Knox Gorge. Kind of weary about the estimates here for time. It says 2 kilometers return. To me, in my mind, that says about half an hour, but apparently it says 3 hours return, so it's supposed to be quite a steep descent and probably ascent as well, in and out of that gorge. We'll see how it is.
Many of the time estimates in the park are well over approximated to cater for varying fitness levels and conditions. However, taking your time to slowly explore the gorge is also well worth the experience.
Knox Gorge. This national park here, Karijini National Park, I would say has some of the most spectacular gorges and canyons I've ever seen in the world, and I've done a fair bit of traveling. These are breathtaking, truly spectacular. I knew that this place was awesome even when we were planning our trip. I'd seen photographs when I was a kid. There was a Ken Duncan gallery right near where I lived, and I always saw pictures of this national park and thought it was a dream, but being here is absolutely different. It is breathtaking. There is nothing else that you could say to describe this place. Awesome.
Returning to camp, we took a short walk out to the nearby Joffrey Gorge lookout around sunset.
Before leaving the national park behind, we had a couple more stops to check out in the southern and eastern side of the park, including one last epic hike.
We're on the Mount Bruce Trail right now, and the Mount Bruce Trail, you can hear I'm out of breath already. It's a little bit of an undertaking. Looking at approximately 500 meters in elevation, roughly 10-kilometer long journey. It does recommend 6 hours. We're going to try and knock it over in 4 because in the afternoon I'm going to try to get out to Hammersley Gorge, and then we have a little bit of a drive after that, so hopefully we can get it done quickly. Either way, it's beautiful. So in the background there we have one of Rio Tinto's iron ore mining sites. Bit of a controversial start to it, seeing as though the project is taking place on the edge of the national park itself, Karijini. Part of the balance is to really be able to maintain the mining excavation and also contain the amount of ecological damage that it creates, and it's just about striking that balance, I suppose. It does create a lot of controversy around here. The iron ore itself is excavated, taken to a nearby port on the Dampier coast, and then shipped out to Europe and Asia.
The Mirandu mine was excised from the Karijini National Park in 1991 to allow mining operations to occur. Owned by Rio Tinto, it is part of the Pilbara iron ore mines, one of the most productive iron ore regions in the world.
It's starting to get steep now, but the views are spectacular. Which reminds me of Angel's Landing up in Zion. It's a big steep drop.
After several steep climbs and a long trek in the outback heat, we finally reached the top.
So we've made it to the summit of Mount Bruce. Woo, quite a steep climb, but definitely worth it. The views are amazing. So we are right now 1,325 meters above sea level. It was about a 500 meter elevation gain. And yeah, so now we're just exploring up top.
The stunning landscape here of the Pilbara. There's Karijini down there.
After returning to the car, we headed via a weathered dirt road to Hammersley Gorge to cool off after a long day of hiking.
We're here at Hammersley Gorge after a long day's hiking and a really crappy bumpy road. We decided we needed to go for a dip. If you're wondering why I'm clambering up and down rocks, it's because we're trying to get to the famous spa pool right now. So we'll head into there and check it out. I think I'm gonna need my hands for this one. There we go. How you doing, chickie? It's cold, but it's good. You alright? Are you alright? Are you okay?
It's like a freaking water slide.
Alright, this is how you slide in. Wow. I have no idea how deep this is. You can see how the layers have shifted over time. Kind of crazy.
Driving day today. We're heading towards Bullara Station, about a 5-hour drive, and we'll be staying there tonight, and that will take us most of the way to Exmouth and Cape Range National Park, where we'll be spending the next few days, stopping for lunch at Beasley River rest area along the way. Should be good.
Here we are, home on the range. Isn't that right, Jiggy? Sing it. Bullara Homestead. This is actually a working cattle station, which is pretty cool because they've also got, you know, all these tents and caravans and stuff, and yeah, they've got free damp, which we were about to check out, which is like a traditional Australian bread made on the campfire. Might get to see some cool animals as well. I'm kind of excited. Are you excited, Miranda?
Yeah, I'm excited for the damper.
Miranda just wants food. She didn't bring the honey though.
I did bring the honey.
Oh God.
It's in my purse.
Honey.
Damper is a thick homemade soda bread traditionally prepared by early European settlers in Australia. The common method of cooking over hot coals may have been influenced by indigenous cooking methods.
Alright, Cheeky's got a damper. Miranda's making the guacamole, and I am prepping the burritos, and I have my steak here from Bullara, where we are.
Watching the sun set to the west, we ponder the next chapter of our journey ahead.
up in the next episode, we depart Bullara and head back to the west coast.
Above the water, we explore the pristine Cape Range National Park, and below, the famous Ningaloo Reef that fringes its shoreline during sea turtle mating season.
From Exmouth, we sail the coast, exploring some of the outer reefs in search of the giants of the sea.
We head to the Coral Coast and visit the famous Quobba Point blowholes.
We get up close to dolphins at Monkey Maya on the Shark Bay Peninsula and discover firsthand how it gets its name.
After exploring and camping at the spectacular Francois Perron National Park, we grab our tanks and fins, daring to dive with ferocious predators at the westernmost point of mainland Australia and the historic Dirk-Hartog Island. Join us on Global Travel Stories. At Global Travel Stories, we want to hear what you'd like to see more of. Please leave a comment below and remember to like and subscribe for our big adventures coming soon.